Hello and welcome to Bags of Action. My name's Steve and this is a 5-minute review of In the Electric Mist from 2009. The film stars Tommy Lee Jones, John Goodman, Peter Sarsgaard, Mary Steenburgen, Kelly Macdonald and Pruitt Taylor Vince. Tommy Lee Jones plays Dave Robicheaux, a detective in a post-Katrina New Orleans who's investigating the killing of several local prostitutes, a lynching from the 1960s, and he's also investigating a corrupt businessman. The film is directed by Bertrand Tavernier, and fairly early on it became obvious to me that the film was based upon something else. I guessed that it was a novel, and then afterwards I found out this was true. The book that it's based upon is called In the Electric Mist with the Confederate Dead by James Lee Burke. So Dave is looking into the murder of one prostitute. He then finds out there's actually a string of them who have been killed. At the same time, he's also getting involved with a Hollywood actor who is in New Orleans where they're busy making a film. Peter Sarsgaard plays the drunk actor Elrod Sykes, who puts Dave onto the case of the lynching. Kelly Macdonald plays Kelly, Sykes' long-suffering girlfriend, who's also an actress, and she's trying to keep her boyfriend sober and out of trouble. The film really suffers from trying to do too much and trying to cram so much of the story into its runtime, which is just under 2 hours. So Dave is dealing with the murder of the local girl. He suspects a local businessman, an all-round sleazy bad guy called Babyfeet, for some reason, I never really find out why, that's played by John Goodman. John Goodman's character is an investor and has lots of money, and he's bringing that into the local economy by putting it into the film and claiming that he's a legitimate businessman. Dave is not convinced. He believes that Babyfeet is involved with killing the girls. He's dirty and sleazy, and he's somehow responsible. Then there's the angle with Dave investigating local businessmen and his suspect investments and partnerships in the past. Dave is battling alcoholism. He's supported by his friend. They go to AA meetings. And then there's the really surreal part, which involves the Confederate soldiers. At one point, he has a conversation with a bunch of soldiers who are all dead from hundreds of years ago. There's a voiceover in the film explaining certain things, and this is the first clue for me that it was based upon a novel. So there's lots of moving parts in this film. There's 2 mysteries, then there's the weirdness. And the result of having all these different things, the film doesn't really excel at any of them. The film tries really hard to create a specific mood, and to be fair, the actors all put in excellent performances. Sarsgaard is really convincing as this broken, drunk Hollywood actor. John Goodman plays sleazy very well, and Tommy Lee Jones is excellent as this very world-weary cop who does go the extra mile to the bottom of the case, sometimes sacrificing time with his own family for the work. This is a very grey film because there are times where he'll pistol whip someone for information, and then another time he's talking to this dead general for insight, which is actually confirming something that he already know. The name that Dave Robicheaux might be familiar is that the film is a sequel of sorts to Heaven's Prisoners. This was a film from a few years previous with Alec Baldwin playing Dave and Terry Hatcher. I vaguely remember the film but can't really tell you much more about it than that. So the film is trying to do lots of things, and the problem is it's adapting a novel, and I don't think the screenwriter has really accepted that they can't do everything, and that in order to tell a good story they have to change the structure and streamline it. You really can't tell the same kind of story in a novel on screen effectively. The only way to do this would be end up with a really long film of 3.5 hours or more, and even then you still get the weird mysticism stuff that comes and goes. Without spoiling the end of the film, there are a couple of really weird woo-woo moments that they don't really explain, that have been mostly absent for the first hour of the film, and then they're dotted in throughout. You could explain it at one point because Dave's drink is spiked with LSD and therefore he's having visions, and these are the lingering effects of that, but it's pointed out that it's probably something else because there's a very kind of odd moment at the end of the film that sort of brings it full circle. So the film tries really hard. The mystery into the serial killer that's killing his prostitutes is never really resolved. We find out who has done it in a very kind of backhanded way, but we don't know why or what they were doing it for. We find out a little bit more about the lynching and the murder from the 1960s, and then some of the story with the corrupt businessman is also dealt with. But because there's so much going on and there's only 2 hours, the film really suffers. So for all of those reasons, while the film was engaging and interesting, it's actually a bit of a mess, despite the great cast and the solid performances. So for those reasons, I'm going to give it 2 bags of action out of 5. So do you agree with my assessment? If so, get in touch with us and let us know. You can leave a comment below. You can contact us via email. You can join the Facebook group as well. If you like what we do, then don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You can also support us on Ko-fi. We have new episodes coming out every week, and thanks for listening.